What is going on, everyone? It's Nick from Breaking the Clutch. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And in today's gameplay analysis, we've actually got two different games playing against the same team. And Preston and I were searching in twos last night, and we ran upon the same team twice. And in the very first game that you're watching right here, we take a loss. And in the second game, we're going to show you how we try to improve our strategy and how you guys can also improve your strategies if you play the same team twice. Because sometimes that does happen since Halo Wars 2 seems to have a pretty low population. Gameplay number one right here, we're going to go ahead and highlight a few key things that I think resulted in us losing. Now you'll notice that we are Decimus and Colony, and we're doing the double chopper play with some engineers, as everyone seems to be doing at the moment. And you'll notice we're trying to take control of the map, getting some power nodes, and then they actually take one of the garrisons right there, and they have visibility on Preston's units as he goes for the power node, and they get in that vortex, they stun Preston's units, and he loses all of his choppers in that play. I think he's going to end up losing all of his choppers in that play. So, two things that we can observe here. One, Preston and I need to stick together during that entire engagement. Number two, garrisons having that visibility, especially with Decimus, is a fantastic play. What they did there was simply put a grunt in the garrison and gave them that extra bit of vision, and they were able to vortex and then come in and stun and pretty much ram Preston's units. It could have happened to anyone. It's a great play on their part. The only thing I can think of to prevent that is to have an Aatrox player who gets bulwark, but this is so early in the game. I don't know if that could have prevented it, but sticking together with Preston probably would have been the better play. And now they've got complete map control. We are playing very conservative at the moment, trying to get into the late game now, because we've definitely lost that early game. And in the next clip, you're going to see that we're going to have all of our units stacked right in between. We're going to try to overwhelm them with double Banshees. Now, typically this does not pan out well, but we figured if Banshees are a very powerful unit right now. So we figured if we can get into our upgrade, we can upgrade them to the second tier, and if we can also get Plasma Torpedo as well, then we might have a chance. We might be able to overwhelm those Reavers. And you'll notice that we start to get a little bit of momentum, right? Because they weren't able to push us. We were able to get some of our shields up, and we've got turrets, and you really don't want to attack with choppers in a main, especially if they still have units like a good amount of units, because you're just not going to pull that off. So they back off. They're playing conservative now after they already have map control. So their gameplay is contain and control. It's a strategy that Preston and I use personally, but they implement it very well in this game, and you'll notice that they try to sneak around and start taking out some of our stuff, and we've got enough units that we feel confident enough to push forward, and we've got plenty of Banshees, plenty of choppers, and we've got plenty of engineers as well to make sure that we stay healed. Now, where this gameplay starts to fall apart is the fact that their colony player has what is it called, branded, and it pretty much, it's that glassing beam, and it does a very significant amount of damage, and it also freezes your units, which is extremely frustrating, but it does a great deal of damage to us. And you'll notice right here, Preston and I, we've split apart. He needs to slow down because he's only got he doesn't have the slower units in his mix like I do, so we need to make sure at this point we stick together, because that's what cost us in the very first game, or the very first the engagement that you saw. We weren't sticking together when he dropped in that vortex. So we're just now trying to rally around the map. We're trying to start taking control of the gameplay, because they've had map control for the past 6 or 7 minutes now, and that's, as you can tell, that's not good for any situation. It's really difficult to come back or rally back from this type of situation. It does happen on occasion, but you need the proper late game leaders. And I think in the future, and I'm going to make a video on this, I think Aatrox is that play rather than Decimus. So I think Aatrox and Colony would be a fantastic combo, because Aatrox does have those fantastic abilities in the second half of the game, rather than Decimus, who's more of a stun and siphon player. On the other side, you've got Aatrox, who can put invulnerability down. He can also put Aatrox bulwark down, especially when they're getting those beams in. So you'll notice that Preston's pushing up, trying to get that garrison, and here's the engagement that really cost us the game. Preston has pushed a little too far. We need to make sure we stick together. We're going to engage together here pretty soon here, and so we're going to engage together, and this is not the part where we fail, because I do think that we have this game won at this very moment. They are going to get overwhelmed by air. They definitely do not have enough Reavers to handle this situation. We've got upgraded Banshees, which are also anti-air, so we're going to take out any Banshees that they have in their series. And I don't know where Preston uses his brand. He might use it in this engagement, but there's a part where Preston claims to have used it, and we don't have the brand. We don't have his ability at or at this engagement. But you'll notice that they're going to drop their I can't even think what it's called, the colony brand, and it's gonna just destroy our units. So how can we prevent this again? Like right there. How can we prevent this? Because this is really where we lost the game. I thought we had it up until this very moment. One of the ways that we can try to improve this is by we've got to micro. We've got to take our units, we've got to move them around in circles, make sure they are less stationary, I guess is the way to put it. Because you'll notice right now we've got our tail between our legs, and we are currently running, sprinting back, and I went ahead and skipped forward. As you can tell, I mean, there was not much that could be done in that situation. Even with the shield gen and turrets on our base, we are not going to be able to fight that off, and we're just going to move on. Well, there's Preston's beam, but we took the loss in that one. They outclassed us. They had much better tactics with those garrison plays, and they were able to get that extra vision that I was talking about earlier. So we actually run up against these guys the second time, or for a second time, and I'm just going to skip right into the 2-minute mark and show you guys again what we're doing, because it's important. We've got the chopper play going again, and we've got engineers, so we're starting off with the same strategy. And you'll notice that they even get the stun off in this one, and they end up attacking Preston's units again because he's just caught a little off guard here. The ability that Decimus has where it stuns units, I mean, it's a great ability, but it becomes kind of irrelevant in the later part of games. As you'll notice, once we go air, it doesn't affect air, so we're not too concerned about it once we get into the mid to late game. But in the beginning, you've definitely got to stick together. You've definitely got to implement ways to make sure that they do not get that, they don't sneak it on you, because it's a deadly combination of abilities, and if you again let that happen and you lose your early units, you lose map control, you lose power nodes, and then the game turns into their favor very quickly, and it can get out of hand very quickly. Again, rallying back in Halo Wars or in any RTS, it's very difficult to do, so you want to make sure you give yourself any bit of advantage that you can. As you'll see right here, I'm trying to micro, just make sure my units are moving, so that way if and actually you can also hear an audio cue when it's about to go off. I'll try to heighten that audio for you, but you can hear it go off before it actually starts, and I guess that's the only way that you can possibly avoid it, just based on audio cues, because if you don't hear that, it's I mean, it's gonna hit you. You're not going to be able to move away quick enough from that, especially considering that the choppers aren't very fast moving units, especially if you have engineers in that mix and some grunts while you're trying to capture power nodes. And again, they utilize colony swarm very well in that play. They're able to save that from dying that mini base. So that's fine, right? We didn't lose too many units in that engagement, so we're going to go ahead and shift. We need to keep going. We need to keep making sure that we get those power nodes, and we can't slow down, because what we did last game was Preston lost a significant portion of his choppers in the early game, and then we said we need to sit back, we need to defend. All right, similar situation here, but Preston doesn't lose his units. I think maybe he loses 1 or 2, and we're able to push around. We need to make sure that we push around and try to capture as many power nodes as we can and push outward. We can't get caught in a bubble, and that's typically where losses come from. If you get contained well enough into the game, you're not going to be able to come back from it. And that's where things spiral out of control. Now here's an absolutely crazy engagement, and I'll just let it play out for you guys. Now somehow, someway, we end up pulling that off. I'm almost certain that they out-choppered us. I think the only benefit that we had was possibly the amount of engineers that we had. It might have been a little bit more than them. And I really don't know what happened in that situation. It could have just been a stalemate and they backed off of it, not wanting to engage, but that was pretty much a win in our book because we were able to get them back. We now have height control. We've got a little bit of momentum going in our favor. We've got another power node. So we're not really losing too much in this engagement. Now you'll notice that again, they're putting those grunts in the garrisons around the map, and we can't let them get comfortable with it, because if they do, they've got that extra bit of vision, so they can vortex at will, or they can hunter's brand. That's what the damn thing's called. Or again, if we push up, they can take out the grunt from the garrison and pick up a power node, which it becomes, those little things actually become major plays in the game. And we got to make sure that we prevent that for as long as we possibly can. You'll notice I get the stun off on 3 of them, and if he goes right out of vision, then you'll actually lose your entire vortex. So you need to make sure that you keep that vortex within vision. Otherwise, it's just a waste of money. It's a waste of an ability, and it's not going to bode well for you. So make sure, again, if you're using that vortex, keep it within range. Make sure that you're able to see your opponent. Don't bring it into the fog of storm. Now, we've also got this engagement again. We tried to take this out earlier, and now we've got some Banshees in the mix. Here's the difference. Here is where we prevail, at least with our strategies, learning from the previous game. Obviously, we're sticking together better in this game, but we are under the impression that they are going to go Reavers because we went double Banshees last time. So with them going Reavers, what do we need to make? Preston suggested this, and I actually really like the suggestion from Preston. It was that he goes Hunters, and it's a risky play, right? And it really doesn't. I really don't like Hunters in a lot of scenarios, but in this, I guess in this particular game, it'll end up paying off well because they commit a whole bunch to Reavers for whatever reason. It seems, and I guess the gameplay will show itself, but it seems like they go overwhelmingly Reavers, and then one guy goes full Banshees. In our situation, we go pretty much Hunters and Banshees. Now, I guess it's kind of similar to a little bit of yin and yang right there with the Hunters, and you've got the Reavers because they're both counter units rather than bully units. But here's the difference. If you push up to a base with a lot of Reavers, you're not going to kill a base. It doesn't do a significant amount of damage. On the other hand, Hunters will do a good amount of damage to a base. So we've got 2 units that will have the ability to kill off bases pretty quickly, rather than them, on the other hand, who has Banshees, and which do great damage to bases. And then you've got Reavers, who I think shoot like guns out of their arms. I don't even think that they shoot their missiles at bases. Another key engagement, and again, we're moving around the map. We're trying to take control, and I really do think that this is where we start to shine a little bit in this game, because we want to take that top control. We want to make sure that we have control of the map, and I think we do that starting with, and I can't remember which one of us suggested it, but we agreed that we need to go to that top corner of the map. We need to make sure that they don't have that, and then we need to push over towards their bases, because last time they expanded very quickly around that 8-9 minute mark. And again, right here, you'll see it. Based on last game, and we knowing that they would go and expand as quickly as they possibly could, we have figured it out. We've picked a spot, and we got a little bit lucky. We just ran into it with our full units. Now, notice that Preston's keeping his units on the side. We are aware that they are going to have a bunch of Reavers at any point, and we need to make sure that at this point they don't know that Preston has Hunters. So we're going for the element of surprise here, and I think right here is where the engagement begins. Preston a little bit slow on, and this could have just been communication. I can't recall the exact situation, but Preston needs to cut off right here on this ramp, and unfortunately he's just a little bit too far away. Again, that could have just been a communication issue on both of our sides, so no big deal there. But if you're gonna make sure you get that engagement, you need to make sure that your 2 players are on point on their speaking and their communication. And you'll notice that we've also got to stack our units, because they have Reavers and they have Banshees. We're weak against both of those, and they're weak against both of them. So it's just pretty much going to be, how do we micromanage? How do we engage? And are we getting our upgrades back at our base? You'll notice that I'm getting Air Grade 2, and I've already got Plasma Torpedo. That's going to become crucial when dealing with Banshees. If you get that slight edge, there's a huge difference between upgrading Tier 2 and having no tier at all and just having Plasma Torpedo. Banshees will rinse other Banshees if you just get that slight upgrade on them. And again, Preston and I, it's one of those situations where we just got to communicate, make sure that we are sitting on top of our units are sitting on top of each other, so that way there's no way that those hunters can be taken out by the banshees, and there's no way that our banshees can be taken out by the reavers. Again, it's tricky, right? One person's really got to take the lead and say, follow my units, in order for this to be a successful play. And I really do think that having height control on this part of the map is what's benefiting them right now, right? Preston can't get his hunters to shoot, so it's a little bit of we're like on a teeter-tot, right? You've got to make sure that we do enough to get up there, but not enough that we're just going to fly off and lose all our units. So we've got to commit somewhat, but we can't overcommit. Now I'm going to start losing some of my choppers here. I'm going to ram some of those reavers and get rid of them. I need those population units to be utilized in other ways, obviously with banshees, with engineers. You need to make sure that those are utilized properly, because choppers aren't really going to help in this scenario. And you'll notice right there, I think I'm getting upgrade 3, which is just going to be devastating to them pretty soon here. And I'll actually be able to start taking on reavers on my own, because, again, I can't imagine he's upgrading his reavers at this moment. Again, I'm not quite sure if he is, but I don't know why you would upgrade reavers. And if you upgrade your banshees, you can run through. There's games where I've ran through Wolverine, like full pop Wolverines with 30 banshees that are fully upgraded, because a lot of people with the anti-vehicles or the anti-air, and oh my goodness, that was an incredible play. I'll skip the point I was trying to make earlier. Right there, that's pretty much what wins us this game. What you saw in the previous video, where Preston and I got hunters branded, this time around Preston does such a great job with that. He gets like 8 or 9 of their units one shot, and I mean, look at how weak those units are. This game's over. And it was simply because we stuck together as best we could. We made the proper units. We were able to get that hunter's brand off properly. And I mean, this is really where we shined. Of course, they get a hunter's brand on us, but this time they hit the hunters. They hit like 3 hunters in that engagement, which that pretty much ends it. If they went for the banshees, I think there might have been a bit of a different play there, because if they hit the banshees, you see how weak banshees were against it. It could have been a different scenario, but not in this. We've got them to resign, start selfing their bases. It was a fantastic 2 games. They obviously outclassed us in the first one, and I think we just took the edge on that second one, and Preston really did put it away with that hunter's brand. It was a fantastic play. I couldn't. We were jumping for joy with that one, because I'm assuming that a lot of you guys know the feeling of, you take that loss and you try to research them, and then you just can't find them. And in this game, we got rewarded by finding them again, and we got a second chance at making things right. So I hope you guys did enjoy the double gameplay here, and I hope you learned something from our loss, and I hope you learned something from our win. If you saw something that I didn't, please let me know in the comment section down below. You know, we're always answering those questions and comments. And thank you guys again so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.